In 2020, a magazine asked dozens of experts a simple question. Name the technology companies that should trouble society the most. Rank them. The number one answer wasn't a weapons maker. It wasn't a surveillance startup. It was the company that ships you toilet paper by tomorrow morning. Amazon, first place. The most customer-obsessed company on Earth. Ranked the most evil company in tech. And here's the part that should unsettle you. The warnings were never hidden. There was no secret, no conspiracy in a back room. Everything we're about to walk through sat in plain sight. In the fine print of a mission, we applauded. A company that promised to put the customer first kept that promise. It kept it relentlessly. The question almost nobody asked was who paid for it. This is the story of how the most reasonable company in the world became one of the most feared, one convenience at a time. To understand the ranking, you have to remember why we loved it. It started in a garage with books. The idea was almost naive in its simplicity. The customer should win, every time. There's a story Amazon tells about its own meetings. In the early days, an empty chair would be left at the conference table. The most important person in the room, they said, was the one who wasn't there, the customer. Decisions were made for that empty chair. And it worked. It genuinely worked. You could find a book that no store within 50 miles carried, then anything. Reviews from strangers told you the truth before you bought. Prices fell and kept falling until checking another website felt like a waste of your own time. One click and it was ordered. 2 days and it arrived. For a while it felt like a small miracle delivered to your door. The friction of ordinary life, the trip, the line, the carrying it home, quietly disappeared. Whatever you think of Amazon now, be honest about this. It made things easier. It removed 1,000 tiny annoyances from 1,000,000 ordinary days. That was the seduction. Not greed, not malice, convenience. The promise that you, the customer, would always come first. We believed it because it was true, and every empire of consequence begins with something that is genuinely, undeniably good. But every promise has a denominator. Someone has to count it. When you order at midnight and it arrives before dinner the next day, that miracle has a machine behind it. Not a metaphor, a real machine. Buildings the size of small towns, conveyor belts that run for miles, hundreds of thousands of people moving inside them, scanning, lifting, walking, and being measured. Because here is the thing about a promise to be fast. Fast is a fraction. On the top, the package on your doorstep. On the bottom, every second it took to get there. And the only way to keep that promise at the scale of a planet is to make the bottom number smaller and smaller, to shave seconds, to shave them off of people. The customer on the doorstep never sees the denominator. That's the whole point. The convenience is designed to be invisible. You are not supposed to think about the building. You are not supposed to think about the body that walked miles of concrete to find your item among millions. The genius of the system was that it hid its own cost. And the cost did not disappear. It moved. It moved away from the customer the company worshipped, and onto the people the customer would never meet. The decision that changed everything looked, on paper, like good management. Measure everything. If you can measure it, you can improve it. So, Amazon measured every scan, every step, every pause. There is a metric inside those buildings called time off task. It counts the gaps. The minutes a worker is not scanning. A trip to the bathroom that runs long. A moment to stretch a strained back. The clock sees it all, and the clock does not forgive. To the system, a human being is not a person. A human being is a variable, and variables get optimized. Now hold that idea, because the same logic was quietly spreading far beyond the warehouse. Around 2006, Amazon began renting out its own computing power. They called it Amazon Web Services. Within a decade, AWS wasn't just a product. It was the floor the internet stood on. When it goes down, half the web goes dark. In 2018, Amazon bought a doorbell company called Ring. A camera pointed at your street, convenient, reassuring, and quietly, the eyes on the neighborhood. Each one of these was a reasonable decision. Each one made something easier, cheaper, safer. And each one came with fine print that almost nobody read. Dependence, surveillance, control, not seized in a single grab, but assembled, one convenience at a time. And then it all paid off. The scale is genuinely hard to hold in your mind. Amazon Web Services grew to run roughly a third of the world's cloud. About 31% at the end of 2023. The streaming you watch, the apps on your phone, the bank you log into, a vast share of it sits, invisibly, on Amazon's machines. The marketplace became the default shelf of the planet. When you want to buy something, you don't go to a store anymore. You go to a search bar, and more often than not, it's Amazon's. Prime became a membership to modern life. Fast shipping, films, music, all of it bundled into a single recurring charge most of us forget we pay. This is the swell. The part where you have to admit it is staggering. A company that started with a garage and a stack of books now sits underneath the global economy like a foundation. It worked. It really, genuinely worked. And then comes the cold part. The same scale that made Amazon indispensable made it impossible to escape. You cannot quit the foundation of the internet. You cannot unneed the shelf the whole world shops from. The miracle had become the infrastructure, and infrastructure doesn't ask your permission. Now, go back inside the building. It's peak season. The volume triples, and the clock speeds up with it. Listen for a moment. The scanner beeps. Pick the item, beep, scan it, beep. The rate counter on the screen tells you if you're keeping pace, and the number is always climbing, faster than last week, faster than the person beside you. There is no finish line. There is only the next item and the clock that counts the seconds between them, and the body keeps the score. In 2022, the Strategic Organizing Center analyzed federal data. Amazon's warehouse injury rate was 7.0 per 100 workers. At non-Amazon warehouses, it was 4.1. The serious injury rate, the kind that takes you off the line, was nearly double, 6.6 against 3.2. In a single year, across Amazon's facilities, 38,609 recordable injuries. The same optimization that gets a package to a doorstep in hours had quietly decided that a human body was a variable to be tuned. And then, in Bessemer, Alabama, some of those bodies decided to push back. In early 2021, workers tried to form a union. Amazon fought it, hard. And one detail became a symbol of everything. The company pressured the Postal Service to install a mailbox right outside the warehouse, on Amazon's own property, under Amazon's own cameras, surrounded by signs that read, "Vote No." Workers were told, in effect, to drop their ballots into a box watched by the company they were voting on. The first vote failed, more than 2-1. The labor board found the mailbox had so tainted the election that it ordered a new one. So, they voted again. In March 2022, the rerun came back, 993 against the union, 875-4. Out of more than 6,000 eligible workers, 416 ballots were challenged, enough to change the outcome left uncounted. The closest of margins, and still, no. The clock had won again. It usually does. By 2023, the warnings were no longer whispers from labor advocates. They were a federal lawsuit. On September 26th, the Federal Trade Commission and 17 state attorneys general sued Amazon for illegally maintaining monopoly power. Their argument was about the other people the customer never meets, the sellers. The complaint laid out a quiet machine. The buy box, that default add to cart button, captures roughly 98% of all purchases. Win it, and you live. Lose it, and your business vanishes from view. And the cost of staying in the game kept climbing. The FTC alleged that when you add it all up, the referral fees, the fulfillment, the advertising, many sellers now pay close to half of their total revenue back to Amazon. One analysis traced the company's take from around 19% of a seller's revenue in 2014 to roughly 45% by 2023. Here is the acidic truth at the center of all of it. The same company that built an empty chair for the customer built a world where many independent sellers depend on Amazon for most of their living. On a platform that can deplatform them in an afternoon. Devotion to the customer on one side. Total dependence for everyone else on the other. They turned out to be the same machine. Meanwhile, the doorbell kept watching. By 2023, around 2,600 police departments had partnered with Ring. In 2020 alone, police made more than 20,000 requests for footage. Ring admitted handing video to police without the owner's consent 11 times in just 6 months. And it paid the FTC $5.8 million over failing to keep that footage private. Amazon's answer to all of it? The FTC, they said, is wrong on the facts and the law. It's tempting to call Amazon a villain, to find the evil man at the top and stop there. But that's too easy, and it lets the rest of us off the hook, because the blind spot was never really hidden. The injury rates were published. The lawsuit is public. The mailbox stood in the open, in plain sight, surrounded by signs. Every warning was right there, in the fine print of a mission we cheered. We were the empty chair. We were the customer who always won, and we won by not looking at the denominator. The second shaved off a strained back, the seller paying half their living to stay on the shelf, the camera quietly watching the street. We didn't build this in a single grab. We built it the way they built it, one reasonable decision at a time, one click, one order, one convenience we couldn't imagine giving back. Tomorrow morning, there will be a package on a doorstep. It will arrive impossibly fast, exactly as promised. And that is the unsettling part. Nothing here is broken. The machine is working perfectly. It's doing precisely what we asked it to do. The only question left is the one we never read. What does it cost to get it there? And who's keeping the count?